Hello there. I thought I'd make a tier list on the Gates of Hell doctrines for multiplayer. I wasn't super impressed with the tier lists that I saw online, so I thought I could do a better job. Just for reference, I have about something like 800 hours on the game. There are certainly players that are better than me. There's probably a dozen or so there that are quite a bit better than me, but I think they'd agree with this tier list, and they're welcome to dispute it if any, and so are you as well. So um, we'll start with Russia, and then we'll work our way from there. Okay, we're going to start with the USSR all-round tier, and we're going to start with the command car. And I've decided to put the command car in S+. If you haven't used it, it's incredible. It has a 200-meter range in front of it in a wide arc. I like to get one of these on each flank. I'm even playing with a buddy who, if we're not, we give each other these if we're another doctrine. They're that strong. They're absolutely S tier, S plus tier. Very good. You should be using them every game if you go this doctrine. Comes with a machine gun. That's just icing on the cake. Really, it's used for the vision. 200 meters in a wide arc is incredible. So S plus tier, easy S plus tier. T60. That's probably going in. I want to put it in B, but when you get it, it's pretty good. It's going to go into B tier. It's just solid. Fairly good against light vehicles. It's a little inaccurate, like all the auto cannons are. Good against infantry, especially if you can get it on a raised position. I think B tier is a good spot for it. Okay, next up we're doing the T70 with infantry. This is another. It's more of an emergency button if you're getting overwhelmed by light vehicles. It's a good pick just to kind of stop the bleeding. So it's going in B tier. It also comes with 4 infantry. Honestly, I don't even factor those in. They're just a pain to even have to micro to get them to jump off the tank. So I'm not even factoring the 4 infantry guys. It's irrelevant for 20 DP, which is already fairly expensive for a T70. So it's going into B tier just because you get it so early that if you're getting overwhelmed with light vehicles, it's kind of a good, you've already made some mistakes. Maybe it's a good kind of just let you get a second of breathing room. Okay, so next we have the so it's going in B tier. It's just a kind of it's a good emergency button if things are going bad, but overall nothing special. KV-85. Speaking of nothing special, we've got the KV-85, and that's going directly in C tier. It's got a very good gun. Problem is, it's actually got less armor than the T-34-85, which is something that actually surprised me because I thought it was similar to the KV-1, but it's not. It has less armor than the KV-1, so good gun, but very slow. But it's okay. It's C tier. It's usable. It's nothing right home about them. RD signaler. Lots of factions get RD signalers. This is just a standard one, so it's going in B tier. Really good on urban maps. Falls off in any kind of fields or anything like that. It's not as useful, but anywhere you can get close enough in densely packed troops, it's good, especially good on battle zones. Okay, so it's B tier. So we got the BM TAC 8 here. This thing is basically going against the BM8 here. If that's how you'll be valuing it. So you get half as many rockets with this, but you do get a little more protection. So you're kind of, I don't know. That's I'd rather have I'd rather pay 10 more DP and just get more rockets. So this thing, these aren't in the same doctrine, but it's not very good. I don't really like it. 24 rockets is not 48 rockets, so it's going to go in C tier as well. It's just not that good comparatively to this, which is not in the same doctrine, but we have to compare things to other things. So yeah, it's going in C tier. Okay, next we got the ISU TAC 152. This is going to go into A tier. You can make a case that it's S tier, but with the amount of armor it has, it's prone. If you make a single misstep, if you hit a tree the wrong way, if anything happens, this thing's going to die. So very high skill cap on this, but it's very good. A tier, priced well. It's a machine gun on the top as well, so you can won't get Panzerfausted quite as easily. But solid A tier. Could be S. You could make a case for that, but I'm going to put it A tier. IS2, that is going S tier. you have not quite as much killing power as the ISU, but it's a main battle tank basically. It's going to take fight tigers and panthers relatively well, and even to be able to, with smart play, take on some of the German super heavies if you're sneaky about it. But it's going in S tier, and there's no question about that. Okay, for the 122 millimeter, I should specify I'm not particularly fond of heavy arty. I have used it all, so I will be able to judge it, but there are probably players that know the intricacies of the arty a little more, um, especially their accuracy and stuff like that. The sing or all the rocket arty I have lots of experience with. These, not so much. I've used them, but there's definitely people that know more about them than I do. But in either case. This one's going to go into C tier. It's just kind of run-of-the-mill arty. Pretty expensive for what it is, but it does have pretty large blast radius. So that's all around there. Pretty good Doctrine. I think I'll do a tier list of the Doctrines as well, but overall, I really like this Doctrine. Scout Car, absolutely amazing, and the IS, absolutely amazing. I'm just spamming these as much as I can, and that's all around. Okay, we're on to the Defense Doctrine now, and this one's got some interesting stuff in it. First off, motorized sappers, kind of a dark horse. I never see people go them, but they're actually pretty good for 15 DP. You get about 100 mines split up between AP and AT, and you get like 12. I don't know how many guys, but quite a few riflemen. Just there's sort of fodder. But anyway, that many mines so early, along with 2 engineers. You can lock and a truck. They come in, so you can lock down an area, mine it up real good. Sort of a fun one. I don't know if I'd use it in a competitive game, but just for fun, I think it's going to go in A tier. It's pretty solid for 15 DP for that many mines early game when mines are actually useful because you can the lines of contact haven't been cemented. So yeah, it's going in A tier. 37 meter flat gun. This thing's awesome. This thing's really good. This is going in S tier, especially when you get it. There's not going to be any tanks, so you're going to be not very vulnerable to very much. That's going to be able to lock down an area. One thing to really consider is that it's not meant for pushing. It's meant for finding an area that you want to lock down and just sitting there, sit in a bush and just wait. Because if you try to be aggressive with it, if you're moving up to face an enemy tank, it's not going to work, or light vehicle. It's not going to work. Try to get it on some high ground as well, like all flat cannons. But this thing's really good. This thing's S tier, absolutely. You get it super early and just nothing's unless they have a field gun or something. Nothing's gonna be able to touch you. That area is just locked down. Okay, 76 millimeter. I do not like this thing. I don't like this thing at all. I don't like that it doesn't have a firing arc. It has to be like pointed right at the enemy. So unless you find like an elevated position, this thing's gonna be pretty useless. Most of my field guns I like to use against foxholes. And this thing won't be able to be used for that unless you can get it in a elevated position. So for that, I think it's going to go into D tier. I really don't like this thing very much at all. 120 millimeter mortar here. This thing's really good. This thing's solid. I think this is going to go A tier. It's a little expensive for what it is. I wish it was 30. I think 30 would be probably more fair. But if you're in an urban map or if your enemy's just spamming infantry, this thing's going to get some value on it. But yeah, it is a little expensive, so I probably just make sure you don't lose it too early because it does need to get quite a lot of value for 40 DP. Okay, 85 millimeter flak, or I don't know if this is a flak or an anti-tank gun in reality, but in the game it's an anti-tank gun primarily, and I don't love this thing. I find the heavy flaks are such magnets for attack, like for airstrikes, which they can't defend themselves against at all, basically. And our arty mortars, they're just really vulnerable. This thing's so slow to set up, and it can't take super heavy tanks. It can kill Panzer IVs, and it should be able to kill maybe a Panther or Tiger if it's you could probably turret those quite easily, but it's not going to kill them. So it's kind of just on a it's on a timer of how long it's going to live, and can you get the value for it? I'm not sure. 40 DP, it is priced really well. That is super fair on the pricing, but even so, I'm not a big fan of it. I've been trying to use them a lot, and the big flat cannons are really hard to get value out of. So it's going to go into C tier. Okay, next we got the 152 millimeter arty, and this is just a absolute direct improvement from the 122 from the all-round doctrine. So it's going to go into B tier. It's way more explosive power for only 5 more DP. Or actually, well, am I confused? 5 less DP. Yeah, so it's just a straight upgrade for everything. So yeah, that's just not a no-brainer. Better than than the 122. Okay, BM8 rocket truck. This thing is amazing. This thing is S plus. 48 rockets. Really good against infantry. Really good against any emplacements. Will injure light vehicles. No damage against tanks. The explosive is too small. This thing is amazing though. I take one or maybe two of these every game that I go defensive. It's really good. If you haven't tried it, you should try it. It's S plus. Okay, next we got the 203 millimeter arty. Again, I don't have a ton of experience with like the arty, so I feel like I'm not exactly qualified, but I'll do my best here. Just take that with a caveat that I'm certainly not a heavy arty player compared to some people. So, but I would say this is going to go in A tier for the price. Again, another just if you compare the prices here, you're getting so much more TNT compared, for just a couple more DP. So no brainer. I think that's a A tier. If this is the one I'm thinking of, it is extremely cumbersome. That is my problem with all of the emplaced arties, is that they take so much micro to. You have to move them. You really should be moving them after every shot, and then that just takes so much time, and then you got to reposition them, then unpack, and then then rotate to get them ready for when you need to fire, and then in that time you could just be using that time so much better. So yeah, you really can't just let them fire, or they're gonna get counter batteried, and then you're out 100 DP. So yeah, but 203, I think that's fair. It's a huge explosion. So I mean it's pretty good. A is fair. Okay, SU 100. I'm not a fan of this thing, honestly. SU 85 has more armor and just a little bit more pen, or a little bit less pen. But yeah, for 90 DP, I think this thing is way overpriced. I would think this thing should be like 70 DP. So I think this thing, I'm thinking about putting in D tier, but I don't think it's quite D tier. But C is fair. This thing is insanely overpriced. I do not like it. Um, yeah, I think it's quite bad. And that's defense. Okay, we're going to go through the irregular doctrine now. Some really good stuff in the irregular doctrine. We're going to start with the 50 kilogram bomb. This thing is going, this might be surprising, this thing is going S+. This thing's so good. You have to be smart about it. Make sure you're using on, if you decrewed a weapon, use it on that. If you've tracked a medium to light vehicle, you can use it on that. If you've got a giant infantry cluster, you can use it on that, and it's just so easy to get value out of this. It's S plus tier. It's so good. Use it to kill enemy arty, especially rocket arty. If they start firing and you use this quickly, they won't be able to finish their salvo, but before the bomb drops. So that's a really good use of it. So many uses. It's so good. It's one of the best things in the game. I wouldn't play a team game if someone didn't have this. So it's absolutely S plus tier. The anti-aircraft Dishka, I'm not sure if it's a Dishka, but whatever it is, it's a anti-aircraft kind of some variety. I like this. Extremely good killing potential. The only issue is it doesn't have any kind of shield, and the guys are standing up, so they do take a lot of damage. So that is one consideration. So because of that, it's going in B tier. Super good in killing potential. Rips infantry, rips light vehicles, but these guys are pretty vulnerable. But it's good. M72 with snipers. So this is 10 DP for a sniper. So you get 2, and you get a motorcycle. But by the time you get this, my motorcycles have fallen off so much. It's not really useful. So it's gonna go A tier. I really don't. I hate snipers. I hate dealing with snipers. They're so annoying. They're so easy to get good value out of. I want to put this in D tier, so I don't want people using snipers, because they are so very good, but they're so annoying to deal with. But that's snipers A tier, easy. Heavy scout recon. I have to compare these to the U.S. Special troops and the Germans, and in that, if I'm comparing them to those, they actually go pretty low. I think these are C tier. You get 2 bazookas, and all the guys are well equipped, but really, you're buying them for the 2 bazooka guys, and it's very expensive. It's very expensive. I would think this should be like 15 to 10 DP. It's pretty overpriced for what you get. Or add 2 more bazookas, but yeah, C tier. I don't really get this very often. So yeah, I think C tier is fair. Okay, we got the Flame T34. This thing is pretty good. This thing is it's definitely low A tier, but it's definitely A tier. The Flame, it might have the longest flame in the game. I think it's like 80 meters. It's got a pretty good main gun too. I think it's an improvement on the no, it is an improvement on the normal T34 too. So it's a pretty good tank, especially when you get it. Just be mindful that it doesn't have much armor, but it's good. Speaking of good, but here's the T34 with a 57 millimeter cannon. This thing's awful. This thing is I'm not sure what they thought about this thing, because this thing is terrible. It has the exact same stats as the flame version, but no flame. And so you're trading a machine gun, but giving away a flame. I mean, this is in the same doctrine. Why would you ever choose this? It makes no sense. So it's going in straight D tier. It's absurd. Exact same gun. Everything is the same, but it doesn't have flame. So I just have to compare them between the two. So they unlock at the exact same time. It's just absurd that you would ever buy this and not that. So D tier, easy. I mean, one of the worst things in the game if you just have to compare it. So D tier, easy. Okay, heavy airstrike. It's gonna go S tier, really good. You save it for super heavy tanks. Save it for heavy tanks, Panther, Tiger, that sort of thing. This thing will always get value for you if you just wait to track the enemy, engine them, or decrew them, and then you just drop this. Make sure you drop it right on the engine, and it's basically a guaranteed kill. This thing's absolutely S tier. I wouldn't do a big team game without one, that's for sure. Okay, IS 122. This thing is pretty good, but the price is not as good as the ISU 152. So I think it's going to go like mid-level B tier for what you get. Again, you're not getting much armor. It's so expensive. This thing is like so expensive for what you get. Like if you compare this, King Tiger is not much more, and you're getting so much more value with that than this. So really, I don't like these tank destroyers from the Soviet Union that much. They're not that good, especially at their price. Like 70 is pretty good, that's fair, but once you start pushing 90, you're really getting into expensive territory. Okay, BM3 13. These have a less missiles than the BM8, but more TNT. I don't actually like this thing too much comparatively. I like this a lot better because it saturates an area more. This will kill or decrew tanks and cause a lot of damage to. It'll just straight up kill light vehicles, but it's so hard to use because light vehicles move around so much, and then you have to get lucky. I really prefer the infantry killing of the smaller TNT load, but more rockets. So that's what I would prefer. And this is even more DP. So I'm not in love with this thing. I think it's a B tier, but it's solid. It's okay. But I like I like this one a lot better. This thing. This is gonna make some people mad, I imagine, but I think this is D tier. This thing is impossible to keep alive. You can't tow it. Its crew have no defense, and this thing just dies so easily. This thing can get killed by airstrikes. This thing can get killed by arty. This thing can get killed by people, just a random scout sneaking up on it and throwing like grenades at it. This thing's awful, absolutely awful. If it could be towed, it'd be way better. But because you can't tow it, this thing is unusable if your enemy is good. So I would never ever take this thing against someone that was competent, because it's just gonna die. And that's a regular. Next, we've got the Lend-Lease Doctrine. There's some weird stuff in this doctrine, and I don't know how I feel about some of the stuff, because it's just a weird doctrine. We'll start off with the Scout Car. For the price and how early you get this is kind of a dark horse, sort of like the motorized sappers. For value-wise, it's pretty good. I think I'm going to put it in B tier. You get a Scout Car, you get 2 Panzer Fausts, and some pretty good guards and Marines. Like I said, I think they're just reskinned guards. But it's good. You get it so early, and if you don't need a light vehicle, then I think it could be, or a light tank, I should say. I think it could be good sometimes, but I never see anyone go. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Stuart, I think Stuart is A tier. I think Stuart's absolutely A tier. Make sure to grab a guy to man the 30 cal on top, but it's good infantry support. Good at taking out light vehicles. Okay at taking out enemy light tanks. I wouldn't rely on it. You're going to have more losses than wins there, but it can, if necessary, fight light tanks. Valentine is the next thing here. This one's rough. I kind of think of it just like the T-70 from the all-round tier. It's basically an emergency. If you're getting overwhelmed by light vehicles, it can do pretty good. I really hate that it doesn't have HE, so that when you do kill the light vehicles, you can actually take advantage of that because this vehicle doesn't have HE. That's a huge problem. I think that's going to put it down basically from. I might even put this A tier because it's got so much armor, but without HE, it's really hard to take advantage of it. So I think C tier is fair. Churchill plus a Valentine. This Valentine that you get in this column does have HE, but by the time you get it, it's going to be worthless. Neither of these tanks will be able to pen anything that you're up against. They're both basically going to be infantry tanks, like killing infantry and maybe some emplacements. But I think of the Churchill as basically a KV1, and I'm not a big fan of the KV1. So I think I don't want to put this D tier, but I just can't. I can't see it being C tier. So I do have to put it D tier. It's top of D tier for sure. But Churchill plus Valentine Cullen, when you get it, it's too late. It's not going to be. If this was called in at phase 1 and maybe it was more expensive, then maybe it'd be good. But as is, I don't like this. I've tried it quite a bit. I've experimented with it, and I just can't make it work. It's not good. Neither of these tanks are good. Sherman Colin for 35. We've got a small problem here because if you can be patient, you can get 2 Shermans with an up-barreled gun for 60. So if you can be patient on this same doctrine here, this is way better. So I have to compare these between each other. So for this, I think I'm going to put this in C tier because if you can just be patient and wait a little bit longer, you'll get 2 for a price break. So I really would prefer that you wait it out and just get the double Sherman for a little bit less. C tier, just a pretty armory this Sherman, and fairly good gun too. It's gonna be able to tango with Panzer IVs pretty easy. So not easy, but it's gonna be a fair fight. Okay, two Shermans for 60. This thing is crazy good. This thing is completely slept on. This is A tier for sure. It is the third column there, so you do have to wait a while. But if you can imagine, you can get 6 of these Shermans if you save all your DP, and you'll still have 20 DP left over. So this thing's really good. If you just want to spam out tanks, I really like this column. It's just pure value. Pure value. Next, we got this 107. I have used this quite a bit, and this thing's pretty good. It doubles as an anti-tank gun. I wouldn't recommend it for that as well, but it does have pretty good penetration. You'll be able to penetrate Panzer IVs pretty easy, and probably can turret and maybe kill Panthers and Tigers if you get a good lucky shot, but I wouldn't count on it. It's going to go B tier and probably like high B tier. I haven't I think that's fair. I think that's fair. B tier, it's a solid arty. You also get a Bren carrier with it as well, and that's pretty good. You could call the Bren carrier like 10 DP, so really you're getting 60 DP, or you're spending 60 DP for the gun, and then 10 for the Bren carrier. So that's pretty good value. Next, we got the 100mm anti-tank gun. This thing is in the same kind of category as the flaks here. They're really hard to use correctly. You got to be very patient, and they're so liable to be killed by RD that I find them really hard to use. I've tried so many times. Like I have a lot of experience trying to use them, and it's just really hard. Because once the enemy knows where they are, they're just going to avoid that area and then kill it with RD. So I think this is going to go C as well. Really hard to use. It is priced fairly well. Like that's a fair price, but they're very hard to use. This rocket launcher is high quality, but very expensive. If it was a little cheaper, if it was 100, I think it'd be more fair. But at the price it is, I think it's going to go B tier, probably like mid B tier. But we'll just do that. But yeah, it's a little overpriced for what you get. If you compare these again, you're getting, you could buy almost 2 of these for this, and then it's, if you factor in how much damage these do compared to how much rockets there are, I think it's pretty comparable. But just the price difference is so huge that I can't recommend it. I think B tier is fair, especially with how expensive it is. And that's Lend-Lease. There's some weird stuff in Lend-Lease. Churchill's bad, so it's kind of all over the place. It's a weird doctrine. That's not my favorite, that's for sure. Okay, we're on to the sport doctrine. Political officer. If you're not aware, it has a ability where you can throw down a smoke grenade that drops a supply crate. I don't really value this highly because I often forget it exists when sometimes I'll use it once and then drop all 5 on one area and then forget to ever go back there. If you have the capacity to remember to use it, it can be okay. But overall, I think it's C tier. Even if you do remember to use it, and if you don't, then it's D tier. So for me, it'd be D tier. If you're better than me at remembering to use it effectively, and it's just difficult to remember. But if you can get some value off this guy, he is just a normal officer as well. So, but they're pretty cheap. So I wouldn't. You're really buying it for the supply signals, and if you're buying it for that, it's not that good. I'd rather just pay the money for the supply signals and get 2 riflemen as well. BT7. This thing's interesting. This thing's really good on urban maps. Its issue is, and it's got a good caliber and fairly good penetration for how early you get it. The issue is its muzzle velocity is complete dog shit. So you really need to be in an urban map, and you need to be careful. You need to use it like an ambusher, because in a one-on-one fight, you're probably going to miss 2 shots if you're at range before you get a hit. So anything with high velocity, you're going to lose to a range. So for that, pretty good. I think I want to put it in A tier because it's so map dependent. It is going to go B tier. It's going to go mid-level B tier. I think it is fair. T50 is next. This thing's interesting. These are so lightly armored, it's almost hard to call them tanks, but just be aware of that. They have so little armor. T50, this thing's interesting. It's got a dual machine gun on the front, so it's very good at dispatching infantry. I would say that it's pretty comparable to the BT7. I basically, if you're in an urban map, this will be better. If you're in a open map, this will be better. So it's also going B tier. They're pretty similar in their uses. This one's got higher caliber but lower velocity. This one's got a higher velocity but lower caliber, and an extra machine gun on the front. So these are just good mid tier tanks. They are pretty good value for what you get. Like if you're, I'm comparing them to the T70 here because that's the same call-in area, same price. So they are definitely better than the T70. But just they're not nothing to write home about them. They're just a good solid choice, and that's why they're in B tier. Next we got the SU-85. This one's kind of weird. It has less hull armor than the normal 85, but more turret armor. So you can pick which one you like better. 50 DP is pretty fair. I think that's exactly what it should be. So I'm going to put it in B tier as well. I think this is like a perfectly priced unit for what you get. These things are zippy, and they're just a solid unit. I don't mind these at all. These big tank destroyers from the Soviets, I don't think justify their price, but these smaller ones are pretty good. You can take out, you can disable Tigers and Panthers turrets, and Panzer IVs you'll be able to just smoke right through. Okay, recon plane. This thing's S plus. If you're against a player that knows what he's doing, they'll often be able to shoot these down. But if not, they're so good. In a team game, these are very good. I wouldn't. On a 1v1, these aren't as good. But team game, these are awesome. So much value. Information is power in this game. So 5 DP, it's basically free. It's so good, and it stays for quite a while too. So coordinate with this with your team. Do a big tank push as soon as you use the recon plane, and you'll get value from it. That's for sure. Speaking of really good, this is another really good call-in. I want to put this S plus, but I don't think I quite can. This is 2 T-34-85s, one with flame, and they both have up armor. This thing's really good. This thing is like absolutely top of S tier. Why don't you guys? There you go. Yeah, for the value here, 40 DP for 85. 85, I think is probably like the best money to efficiency. Like if that intersects right there is the T-34-85, really good gun, fairly good armor, pretty good speed. Like it's a really good main battle tank, and you get 2 of these for 40, one with the flame. I mean, really good S tier. I would always get this. This is a seriously good call. We have this Katusha here. This one is interesting. It's sort of in between the this one here and this one here in terms of number of missiles and or millimeter of diameter of a missile, I guess would be the descriptor. This one is a lot better than this one, I believe, because the price and I do like I prefer more missiles than, like I said before, more missiles that can saturate an area rather than bigger missiles that do more damage. So to me, that's why I put this in A tier. I think it's better than this one, even though these ones are bigger explosions. I do like the more missiles. IS-2 1945. This thing is really similar to the just normal IS-2. And for 100 DP, it's pretty good. I'm gonna have to put it S tier. Like it's an IS-2, so that's fine. The one big difference, which I think is worth the 5 DP, is you get a big dish gun on the top. So that's really good. That's a little insurance if you're getting bombed. Oh, you might be able to take out the airplane if you're lucky. Okay, so S tier, yeah, is fair for the IS. I think that's a good spot for it there. 280. I did actually get confused earlier by the icon here. I thought this one was the 150. No, I thought this one was the 203, but I got confused because I'm not a huge arty player. This was the one that is super slow and difficult to turn. This one is so difficult to use. I think it's actually going to be lower than the 203 because this one is on a track and it just turns so slow and it's just so cumbersome and big and it's just going to get destroyed. It does have a massive explosion. It's pretty much, I think it's the second biggest caliber other than the Carl Gustav, but like the Carl Gustav, it's just so difficult to use. This one in particularly, I don't really like this thing. I've heard people say that they don't like the accuracy. I don't have as much experience to know that it has like to compare it accuracy wise to the other arty, but I don't like this. People don't like this. If you like it, I'm happy for you. But yeah, it's not my favorite. I think B tier is fair. You're paying out the butt for it, and just it just takes one straight RD to hit it, and then it's dead. So this is my tier list. The more I look at, the more I'm happy with where everything ended up. I think this is pretty good. If you have any comments, please leave them below. And if you're interested in seeing other tier lists for Gates of Hell, go ahead and subscribe. It's good talking to you. Goodbye.